MotorhomeDiaries.com.
Hey everybody, I'm here with Carl Graham of the Montana Policy Institute. Carl, thanks for being with Motorhome Diaries.
Glad to be here.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself, how you got into these ideas?
Sure. I'm born and raised in Montana and went to school in Bozeman here at MSU and got my degree and went out and did about 3 or 4 interviews in a 3-piece suit, and I'm 24 years old, and I thought to myself, I remember sitting in a big steel and glass building in downtown Los Angeles in 1984 looking around during an interview that was going pretty well, thinking, you know, I can do this when I'm 50. So I joined the Navy, flew 20 years in the Navy, flew F-14 Tomcats, and got out of the Navy after 20 years, came back to Montana, and now I'm about 50 and I'm kind of doing this.
Could you tell us a little bit about the Montana Policy Institute?
You bet. We just started up in January of '08, so we're less than 2 years old. Our mission is to give Montanans the tools they need to argue for policies that are based on a respect for individual freedom, an expectation of individual responsibility, and the idea that government intervention should be a policy of last resort rather than first resort. So we're in the information business. We do kind of the traditional think tank things of studies and analysis and outreach and that sort of thing, and mostly just try to provide information so people can make good arguments.
That's great. I was taking some time to go over your site today and then the articles and things you all put out, and I really love the fact that you guys emphasize personal, like individual freedom and responsibility, because those seem to be things a lot of folks are lacking sometimes.
I'll tell you, they're inseparable. You can't have one without the other. And when I grew up in Montana, it was just a given. I grew up in that environment where people took responsibility for their actions, they took care of their neighbors, they took care of themselves, and they wanted to be left alone. And why I started MPI was I got back and it wasn't that way anymore. Budgets were going up. We had an administration that we still have that was kind of moving us towards a nanny state, taxes increasing, more government spending, more interest groups and special interests coming in and trying to take over and tell us what to do and what not to do. And I just didn't like it, so I decided my part of it was going to be to go out there and try to get people to argue against it.
That's great. Oh, what are like 1 or 2 things you'd point to as being like the biggest threats to liberty for Montanans here?
I think the creeping nanny state. It's so insidious. People give up one freedom at a time in exchange for something, and we're seeing more and more of that. Pretty soon you find yourself again in a nanny state with very few freedoms, and then you lose the responsibilities and you forget what freedom is because nobody's holding you accountable.
So with that encroaching nanny state, how do you remain optimistic?
People in Montana know in their gut that this is wrong. They know that they should be responsible for their actions. They know that they should have the freedom to do anything that doesn't hurt anybody else, whether it's good for them or not, frankly. And they don't have a way to articulate it, though. They don't have the good founding principle arguments, the good economic arguments and things like that. But what's really optimistic for me is I'm seeing people get more than mad. I'm seeing them start to take ownership of their future and start to get involved in changing the direction that we're going.
So I'm a firearms owner, and I try to stay abreast of firearms-related issues, and one big piece of news that came out recently was the Made in Montana firearms law. Could you tell us about that and your thoughts?
You bet. This is a great law because they use firearms as a vehicle to make a broader statement. Basically, we have a law that just went into effect that if a gun is made in Montana, out of Montana parts, and sold to a Montana citizen and used in Montana, the feds have no business regulating that gun or anything that's done with it. And the court case is already being prepared. ATF, BATF, whoever, already said they're going to sue them. So rather than have somebody go to jail and really test it, they've got a court case prepared, and this thing's probably going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. And if it applies to guns, then it'll also apply to everything else that's made in Montana, sold in Montana, and used in Montana or any other state.
Wow. Well, I'll be watching that. I'm sure millions of other firearms owners will as well. But can you touch on? I know like government transparency is a major thrust of MPI as well. Can you touch on that?
We think that a lot of the excesses of government, they're able to get away with that because they hide it. Because it's just too hard for the average citizen to go see where those dollars go. We're all about trying to get information out there for people to see exactly how their tax dollars are being spent and what's being done in their name. We've got a website, www.schoolsopenmt.org, the best spending website for school spending in the state by far. We're about to do the same thing with county spending, and then we'll also be pushing the legislature when they meet again in 2011. We only meet every 2 years. We'll be pushing them again to get all state spending online in a fully searchable database so people can really see where their dollars are going.
So we were talking earlier, and you said that y'all just brought on board an investigative journalist. Can you touch on that and the impact that that's had?
You bet. We got Michael Noyes. He's a professional journalist, and he's basically going out there and digging and finding news that the mainstream media or traditional media outlets aren't getting. They don't have time to do anymore. They've been downsized so much. So we're uncovering stories like credit card abuse, stimulus funding abuse that we just got, and several other really hot items we're seen as a credible news source. And our goal is we're going to be fair, we're going to be truthful. We're not necessarily going to be objective because we do have an agenda, but the story will be fair and truthful and will be a valid news story.
I want to thank you for your time today, Carl, and wish you and Montana Policy Institute and all the other liberty lovers here in Montana the best of luck.
All right, thanks for coming. Glad we could get you some snow.